I'd never run a business before, I'd never been in property before. I'd started one of my own first developments, but I didn't have any experience, anything that I really needed to know. So that's why I knew I needed some training.
Why you decided to become a property investor? What was life like? What were some of the struggles that you were facing?
So I'm a structural engineer by trade, working in that industry. I remember getting chartered and thinking I've made it, but then it's sort of big anti-climax and it's not what I wanted to do.
And there's so many negative articles right now.
Yeah.
You switch on the news, it's negative.
I've stopped listening.
All their friends, family members are negative because look, it is a tough time for many millions of people in the UK right now.
Being in the construction industry and working for a lot of developers, that sort of piqued my interest quite a bit. So I knew that I wanted to start moving into property, into a different side of the construction game.
How did that make you feel? What were the emotions going on? But take us back to when you got that first deal, and what is the new strategy and how does that work?
So the new strategy is...
Hey, today I am with Oliver, one of my inner circle graduates, who in just 2.5 years has gone from zero. He's done 12 property deals and he currently has 9 rent-to-rent managed property deals in his portfolio. So we are going to take you behind the scenes and we are going to show you exactly how you can get these results as well. So Oliver, welcome into the studio.
Thank you for inviting me.
First of all, a massive congratulations.
Thank
I
you.
know it's been, we've had some challenges along the way over the last 2.5 years, but the bottom line is you've got 9 live properties.
Yeah.
Now, before we get into what type of properties and the strategy and how you got the deals, could you take us back to where you were 2.5 years ago and why you decided to become a property investor? What was life like? What were some of the struggles that you were facing?
Yeah, sure. So I'm a structural engineer by trade. So I was just working as an engineer. I got chartered. And I was just working in that industry. I remember getting chartered and thinking, I've made it, but then it's sort of big anti-climax, and it's not what I wanted to do. So then, being in the construction industry and working for a lot of developers, that sort of piqued my interest quite a bit. So I knew that I wanted to start moving into property, into a different side of the construction game, and sort of, my main aim was to go into developments. So then that's where I stumbled across your courses and your education programs.
Great.
So then that's when I went to one of your boot camps.
Great.
and then signed up for the full mentorship.
Great. You know what? It's quite interesting because we've got a lot of property professionals within the Assets for Life Academy, and you've got 2 things that you can do in property. You can be on this side or you can be on this side. You can be working for someone else and making them rich, or you can work for yourself. And I think that's what really motivated you, that you didn't want to be a slave to society anymore.
100%,
and you wanted to have freedom, right? And you wanted to have time freedom and be your own boss and do what you want and when you wanted to do it. So what really made you make the decision to join my advanced training and mentoring program?
I mean, I think I was already at the stage to know that I wanted to do something else. And then I think it was just at the boot camp, the training that was provided, and then, the continued mentorship program, I was sort of sold on that during the 3-day boot camp because I'd never run a business before. I'd never been in property before. I'd literally just started one of my own first developments, but I didn't have any experience, anything that I really needed to know. So that's why I knew I needed some training. And then, just what you provided, or what you were offering, it just sounded like exactly what I needed to start my journey.
Great. So once you joined me, how long was it before you got your first result, so to speak?
So in the first 3 months, I sort of set up all the business, started making all the phone calls, done everything that that you taught us to do. But I don't know if you remember, but at the time I started my development project.
You were renovating
a property. So I had that going on. I had a full-time job, so I was doing 80 hours a week. So I sort of had to park the SA, the service accommodation stuff, for about 6 to 9 months. But luckily, I'd already started the training, so I did actually take on a unit at about sort of month 8. because that was more talking with friends and family and everyone else what I was doing, the training, and then luckily enough a friend of a friend had a property come up for rent, so I said I'd take it off them. So I managed to get my first one without even actually
so that was no
trying
agents.
that hard.
No going out to landlords.
Precisely.
You know what, I think this is a really interesting point, right? The fact is that you did the setup work within those first 12 weeks. Your company name, your business cards, the property ombudsman, you set the bank account up. You had the intent, and then you took the action that you wanted to create this company. The fact that we paused it then for 6 or 9 months really is irrelevant, and actually then made it easier, because if you hadn't have done that legwork in the beginning, when you would have then spoke to your friend of a friend of a friend, you may not have been in a position to take the property on because you didn't have your company.
Exactly.
So now, take us back to when you picked up the keys to your first property deal, not the one that you were developing and living in at the time. You were living in a building site for months, I remember. But take us back to when you got that first deal, when you how did that make you feel? What were the emotions going on? Did you have any sort of mindset shift? What happened in that moment?
No, it was funny because it was it's a little bit nerve wracking, obviously, when you're taking on your first deal, obviously being so busy as well. But when the opportunity presented itself, like, you knew you just had to take it. And it was interesting because obviously I had to, even though it was a friend of a friend, you still had to, sell them on the idea and get them on board. So it was all of them things. Like, it was very interesting, very exciting, and when that first deal actually got over the line, they bought into what you were doing, your idea and everything. It was sort of you sort of felt exhilarating. You thought actually, do you know what?
It's possible.
It's possible, and even though I thought I was not wasting my time with the development project, but the fact that I wasn't completely involved with the SA stuff, but I still managed to get the deal, and then it was like, it's all back alive again. So,
great.
So
I think that's the most important thing. Is it's the sooner you can believe that you can do something, you're able to go and do it. And there's so many negative articles right now. You switch on the news, it's negative.
I've stopped listening to the news.
Good. Most people, their friends, family members are negative because look, it is a tough time for many millions of people in the UK right now. But you can decide to be on the poor fence or the rich fence. And of course you have to put in the work, and you've got to put the effort in and do what's needed. But so you got the first one up and running. This will be a good time now to talk about the actual strategy. So you initially did something called rent-to-rent serviced accommodation. So you don't own the property, you haven't got to go and get a mortgage, no major credit checks, not got to go and use a broker, minimum cash in, maximum profit out. You rent the property from a landlord, pay them guaranteed rent, and then they allow you to basically re-rent it out, sublet it with the right legal contract. Is that a fair description of rent-to-rent serviced accommodation?
Exactly,
and obviously serviced accommodation where you're then renting it out by the night, so you don't have tenants. Now, over the last year or so, your business model has changed. So you still do rent-to-rent serviced accommodation,
certainly do.
but from the 9 deals that you currently have live, how many of them are rent-to-rent SA, and how many of them are the new strategy, and what is the new strategy, and how does that work?
So the new strategy is management. So this is so we was getting a few more properties near London, in and around London. So and I sort of teamed up with who's now a business partner who was an agent in and around London. So we started offering a management strategy, because landlords they were sort of more cottoning onto the idea, and as we were selling the idea to them, it was, a lot of them looked like they preferred the idea of this management where we just charge a fee to manage the whole property for them, and then the landlords would take the extra benefits, the extra income that we could generate for them. Yeah, but they also take on the risk. So that's the benefit to this management strategy as opposed to a rent to rent. When you're doing the rent to rent, you take on all the risk yourself, you take on all the investment yourself, but then you take the upside to yourself, which is the extra profit.
Yeah.
Whereas the benefit to the management strategy is you have no risk, you have no investment, and you can still make a good sum, but it'll be a bit less than a rent to rent strategy. But without the risk and the investment, we've found that I actually quite like that.
You
strategy
prefer
as
it,
well,
yeah. The no risk strategy,
Yeah,
love it,
yeah.
I might have to jump on that one myself,
Yeah,
Oliver.
yeah.
That sounds incredible, and the only reason I'm guessing that you're able to do that is because you had some experience with rent to rent yourself.
Yeah, no, of course, yeah. So I mean, when we first started doing it and offering it, it was great because there were some people in the community that actually do that strategy. So it was great that we could ask some questions and figure out, get the right contracts in place, the right structure to set up them deals. So
Perfect.
So it's good. I quite like the balance, to be honest with you, within the portfolio, because especially some of the properties that we take on, especially now, it's getting a lot more competitive out there as well. It's good to take on something with a little bit less risk because you don't know exactly how it's going to go. And we also do shorter term contracts with the landlords as well. So
it's almost like test it.
Yeah, test it.
Maybe on like
exactly.
how short are those contracts?
Yeah. So we'd usually do them 3 months.
Yeah, I was going to say 90-day period.
Yeah, 90-day period, because it's not worth it doing any less than that really, because you're just never really going to find out. Your first month's always a bit slower because you're just starting to generate a few bookings and you're new. And then sort of by month 2 it starts picking up, and by month 3 you're sort of in the position where you've got the few reviews, and that's where you're at. So month 3 really tells you what I found.
And then also you've got data to go to the landlord and say, hey, look, this has really worked.
Yeah.
Why don't we carry on and then really scale it? So no risk property strategy. Obviously, you've got to put in some work. You said that you'll make slightly less on these types of deals.
Yeah.
On average, on a managed property deal, how much would you say you're making roughly per month?
We're looking at probably about £600-700 a month
awesome.
on a management deal. Because they're a bit closer to London, it generates a bit more income than the properties that we have further outside of London. So the margins that you're earning on is a little bit higher.
Yeah. Well, look, you get someone listening to this now adopts this strategy and gets 10 of those up and running in the next 12 months. That's an income of say 10, you're looking at over £6,000 a month net profit. Most people don't earn that in a year or 2 or 3 years. The average salary is 30k in the UK, something like that now. And then you can really start to do what you want when you want with who you want. So what would you say has been 1 or 2 of the challenges that you've faced, and how have we helped you overcome that working in the mentoring program?
Yeah, so I'd say the first one I'd say is mindset. Only because, like I said, I went to school, went to university, went in the job. Like I was literally conditioned by society, as most people are, to work for someone and be a slave to that sort of line of work. So obviously coming out of that, I knew I didn't want to do that. I knew I wanted to come out of that. But what you find is it takes a bit of time for your actual mind. Like you're so ingrained into doing that for so long that it actually takes a bit of time for you to actually convince yourself that that this is there's a better way to do things, and also it's just quite difficult because I've never run a business before, never done anything like that. So there's that whole training side to first start it, and then also start to scale the business. And it's different type of work, like, and everything's reliant on you. Everything comes back to you. Like if something ain't going right, it's your fault. Like you have to deal with absolutely everything to begin with. Whereas when you're in a job, it's a bit safer, but but yeah, less reward and less challenging.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, look, the bottom line is entrepreneurship is probably not for everyone.
yeah.
There are always ups and downs, and it can be a lonely place from time to time. And this is one of the reasons why I, have created the Community Assets for Life. I invest heavily every year, 60, 70,000 pounds into training, mentorship, going off on retreats and traveling the world and hanging out with high-level business owners. Based on the experience you've had with us over the last 2.5 years, would you recommend my mentoring program, Property Advanced Training, to people? And if so, why would you recommend it?
Yeah, no, for sure. I think with any journey that's worth going on, if you don't have the knowledge base or the skill set to do it, you're not going to get anywhere at all. So yeah, 100% I'd recommend some form of training or mentorship program. And obviously I'm with you, so I'm happy with it. I'm happy with the service. So yeah, I'd definitely recommend it. And you get all the guidance that you need, you get all the shortcuts that you need, and yeah, there's always someone on hand to answer questions if you need. So yeah,
excellent.
For sure.
I appreciate your business, and we've had a good 2.5 years together. I'm pretty sure we've got many years ahead. You've been on some of our fantastic retreats over in Marbella, level 1, level 2. You're coming out a little bit later this year to do the next retreat, and those retreats are for me absolutely game changing, incredible. You get to reset and be off the grid for sure. So how does life look now compared to how it looked 2 years ago? What's been some of the biggest positive changes that you've seen in yourself as a professional, as an individual, but maybe also in the relationships that you have with other people as well?
Yeah, so main difference is I was sort of working 5 days a week, 9 to 5. So I've not completely given up that side of the job yet, because I don't like taking money out of the business, because I want to keep reinvesting it and growing the business. I do still work 2 days a week there, but it's nice to go there 2 days. It's a bit of a different scenery. It gets a bit busy sometimes, don't get me wrong, but that also pays my bills. So so that means I don't have to constantly take money out of the business.
Nice, I like that.
So like I said, it's definitely given me it's definitely allowed me to cut down my hours at work.
When you was able to do that, and we'll get back to the rest of the conversation, but when you actually said, wow, I don't have to work 5 days anymore, I can work 2.
It was a bit more gradual.
So it wasn't 5 to 2.
No, it wasn't 5 to 2. It was 5 to 3, and now it's down to 2. So it was staged, but no, it was a great feeling. It was a great feeling to know that I don't have to turn up somewhere 5 days a week, and then which then led to me to working all my evenings, all my weekends. Whereas now I can have full days just purely concentrating on my future, really. So that was definitely game changing, and that was definitely the target. That was definitely my first target when I first started this, was to start cutting down them hours at work. So
do you find it hard to motivate yourself sometimes on those days? Because if you're used to being I'm not saying this, but in general terms, if you're used to being a robot, being told what to do, when to do it, how to do it, even now, 2 years into your entrepreneurial journey, that will still have its own challenges, even though it's a lot of fun and you get to do what you want. But those days where you're not working, do you find yourself sometimes lacking in motivation? And what do you do to overcome that?
Like I say, like you said, being an entrepreneur, it's like a journey, and there's ups and downs. So you just got to be sort of ready for that. And when you're stepping into it, obviously you can't always prepare for these situations. But sometimes you definitely, like, motivation is lacking, and you're wondering if this is the right thing, or is this is the right strategy and stuff. But like, what I've found is because it comes in peaks and troughs. Like that period will be over. You'll be back in a motivated state again at some point. So for me, I just try and stay focused. Try and keep my vision on the bigger picture. Do you know what I mean? And you just get through them times.
Yeah, it's good. That's really good advice there. So if I said to you today, I will double the salary that you used to be on as an engineer, and you've got to come back full time starting tomorrow, would you take that, or would you carry on doing what you're doing?
No, I wouldn't take that. No, because I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not making that money at the minute in the business, but the potential for where we're at and where we're going is way in excess of that. And like I say, I'm not just like I am working on this strategy in a minute. I think it will be a long-term thing for me, but I'll definitely be looking at going into other strategies where you'll be making a bit more income. And yeah, like I said at the beginning, my whole aim was to get into development, so the trajectory is definitely still to go there.
Perfect.
So you know, I've got the right community around me and stuff, so I know I'll get there eventually. It's just, yeah, you just got to keep on plugging away and keep on making the right decisions and get there.
What if to share with the amazing Assets for Life audience, the Liam J. Ryan audience, what would be some really big tips that you could share with people that have maybe not started the journey yet, or perhaps they're on the journey but they're finding it a bit difficult? What would be some of your words of wisdom that you'd like to share?
So if you're not started yet, I mean, definitely the action taking part of it is absolutely key, which is like, for me at the time, I remember when I first went to that boot camp, I knew I wanted to do it, but I hadn't really started. I sort of started my own little development thing, but I knew I needed some training. I knew I needed to do this, and it was that just sort of getting started. I just knew I needed to get started. How, when, what, wherever, which is why when your course came along and and you were offering what you were offering, it was just like, right, I've just got to take the action. So that definitely.
Okay, great.
And I don't know, as the journey goes along, you sort of, as the journey goes, you develop, and like you learning new things. Like I've done a number of your courses now as well, like on different strategies, and now I'm really figuring out what my next steps are and what I want to do. So it's definitely getting the training and all the different strategies, and then figuring out once you've got started, is then figuring out what's more best for you to follow on, but what you're a bit more passionate about out of all the different strategies. So I'd say first is action, get started, and then second is sort of, you know, get knowledged up and figure out continued education, figure out what is the strategy that's gonna you know, keep you motivated, it's gonna keep you going in them sort of down periods, and what's gonna keep you a bit more passionate about what you're doing.
So let's just sort of start to summarize now, because it's been an incredible session. How does your vision look for the next 2 years? You're on 9 units. Are you scaling? Are you pivoting to a different strategy?
I think I'll be pivoting to a different strategy.
Okay.
So I'm still going to keep this one going for sure. I've just started employing people into this business now.
Nice.
So I will be looking. So my main aim at the minute is to get off the actual general management of the properties, dealing with the guests, dealing with this, and only really deal with more high level stuff, taking on new units, the financial side of things. And then I'm going to veer off and start looking at another strategy now. I've still got one more of your boot camps to do, which is the development one.
Oh, nice. Andy Hubbard,
Andy Hubbard,
Awesome.
I've done the deal packaging as well. I really like that. I've done the sales boot camp as well. So like, I've done the expert speaker as well.
Okay.
I've done that as well. I don't think that's quite my bag at the minute, but I really
Awesome,
I really like the deal packaging, and I think that might be a good lead into the development. Start finding them deals, selling them on, etc.
And not just that. Once you have a really good understanding of how to package deals, you can find these managed deals and then sell them for $5 or $6 grand a managed deal, perhaps. It's something for you to consider. But
no, exactly,
what I like the sound of is that you are now actively looking to remove yourself from the business, work on the business, not in the business. It's fantastic that you're employing a member of staff to take away and do the low-hanging fruit. You know, I remember my first member of staff building Assets for Life, you know, nearly 8 years ago, and now we've got over 42 of them, right? So you can only grow in proportion to the number of staff that you have around you. So hiring staff is really, really important in my view. You're looking to build multiple streams of income. If you could summarize your journey with me as one of your mentors and the Assets for Life, you know, everyone we have in the community, how would you summarize your experience over the last 2.5 years?
It's been ups and downs, great, but but yeah, it's community. I think what you've built here is you've got a great community. There's always some sort of webinar or inner circle day, or even just a members day or something where you can go to. You can do a bit of training. You can do a bit of networking. You can keep in touch with everyone. We've also got all the WhatsApp groups and things where we can ask questions. Yeah, so I mean, the summer has been difficult, but like I said, you've got the community there. You've had your ups and downs, and yeah, but I look back on it, and I don't regret anything I've done, and it's just part and parcel of
and that's part and parcel of being an entrepreneur and a property investor. There's going to be times when it's difficult. You know, there's going to be ups and downs. There's going to be the odd problem with a tenant or a guest or a landlord or a business partner, or you lose motivation. But you know what I'd like to say to you, Oliver, is that you've stayed in the process with us. You've turned up. You've had some moments where you've disappeared for a month or two,
for sure.
But you know what? You've stayed in the process. You've invested in yourself. You get to our retreats. You turn up. You've made great relationships in the community. I feel really positive about the next 2.5 years working with me and the rest of the Assets for Life team. So, you know, a massive congratulations. Well done. Thanks for coming in today and sharing your journey with our amazing audience members. Wow, absolutely incredible. You know, there you have it. Oliver, just been an absolute pleasure to see his journey over the last 2.5 years, even though there has been times of difficulty and ups and downs. But if you want to change your life, if you are sick and tired of where you are now, working too many hours, not spending time with the family, hey, I've got a message for you. Stop moaning about it and get up and do something about it. This is what Oliver has done. Do something different in order to get something different. Hey, my name's Liam J. Ryan, host of the Dealmaker podcast. I love business, love property, love entrepreneurship. If I can do it, you can do it. And I'll see you in the next episode.